Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so I'm fresh off homework on the Boston Celtics. I'm sitting here laying eyes on a team that has given my franchise some of the most incredible battles they've had, and I'm trying to learn about their current basketball team as of right now. And of course, they got the best record in the league, one half game ahead of the Denver Nuggets for that best overall record. My Laker team comes in as the 13th ranked team in the Western Conference. We've dropped some games we shouldn't have dropped, including a game against the Boston Celtics that none of us will forget. Down 20 at one point in the game, came back, went up by 13, and then proceeded to let that lead dwindle down to nothing into overtime, for which we, as usual, never have anything for overtime games. Yeah, that was probably the worst loss of the season, if you ask me. Even though we played some really good ball in that stretch of time when we were running the score up, we just didn't keep our foot on the gas, and that was one of the games that helped us understand that it's very important that we study how we finish basketball games as it pertains to pace, because we understood if we would have just kept doing what was working, we would have ran Boston out of the gym. But we've learned some lessons since then. We've made some changes since then. Our roster has gone through some injury issues since then. Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves have since gone out and have been out for a long time since then. And from what I understand, they are still out, despite everybody running around saying that Lonnie's going to play and all this stuff online that's pointing in that direction. The injury report showed that he's out for the 28th. So is Austin. So we'll see if it's likely going to be one of those situations where we'll test it out at the beginning of the game, and if they feel well, they'll go. That's what I think will happen, because I know Lonnie's hell-bent on playing on this road trip for sure. I saw that by way of a post that he put on IG. He's ready to get back out there. So, of course, enter Rui Hachimura. You know, his first game, his debut with the Lakers was fantastic. He led the overall team in plus-minus with a plus 17, 4 out of 7 shooting. Really helped the Lakers. A little nervous out there, but for him to have his debut at home in the Staples, or rather Crypto.com arena, I thought he was really, really good and helped the team win. Our team has had some ups and downs. Obviously, we understand that we are used to small ball lineups as it pertains to the continuity that our coach wants to use. He believes in consistency. Unfortunately, what we've been leaning on has been that small ball idea, and it's not really worked out for us in a multitude of ways. So what we've wanted the Lakers to do is to kind of get away from that in a way and just put ourselves in a position to utilize the size that we've since picked up. So that's what I'm going to be looking for tonight from Darvin Ham, is to see if he's willing to kind of get away from some of those lineups and start the process of a new continuity, a new norm that will give us a little more size for this basketball team. At the end of the day, we're going up against the Boston Celtics. We know who this is. This is Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Marcus Smart will not be available tonight. He's been missing for the past week or so with an ankle. So we have the privilege of not dealing with him tonight. Of course, Gallinari's been out for the season. They haven't had him in uniform at all. And Time Lord, Robert Williams, is day-to-day for this particular matchup. So as we continue to look forward to what the Boston Celtics are likely going to throw at us, we know that two of their best defensive players are going to either not be there or at least not be fully healthy. So that's very important. Now, the one thing that stands out for the Boston Celtics for me right now is the turnovers. Every single night they're turning the ball over either 13 times or more. Win or lose, they're coughing it up. And granted, they've played against some really serious talent over the last couple of weeks. They've run into the likes of Golden State. They've gotten beaten by Orlando in a really good game. Jonathan Isaac came back and made his return. Miami got him. New York just got him. They're on a 3-game losing streak. And, I think it's directly related to the fact that those players have been missing from the lineup. And plus, you got to consider that before those players went down, Jaylen Brown was removed from the lineup. So he's come back since and is still trying to work his way back. So it's a lot of in and out for their roster. And to be honest with you, the back of that bench is looking rather thin right now. And that's where they're really having their trouble. Their starters are really being leaned on for a lot of minutes, and they cannot withstand any foul trouble. They can't afford to really have off nights for some of their players. It's just, they're thin. So they're leaning on some guys who are really helpful for them, but unfortunately, for their situation, they are too small when they go to their bench. You start leaning on more highly the more talented players on the team, like Derek White and um, Peyton Pritchard, uh, Malcolm Brogdon, they have the same problem we have, Lakers. A lot of the players that they would rather lean on happen to be small. So this is a situation where we know the Boston Celtics to have been a big team, and even in the last video, I said, we don't want to go small against them. But when you look at what they're actually lining up out there, they're probably going to want to lean on some of their guards when they get in foul trouble. Those are the more talented players on their team. Uh, Obviously, you're going to see a whole lot of Al Horford right now. You're going to see a whole lot of Grant Williams. Those guys are being leaned on a lot. Sam Hauser's a player who's been getting some run for them. You got to keep an eye on. Uh, Blake Griffin is also in rotation down there. So they're leaning on some people they would rather not, but they're getting some things out of those people. So you got to just try to take advantage of the fact that they're on the floor and try to utilize respecting what it is that those players' strengths are. Just because they may be quote-unquote lesser guys, it doesn't mean that they can't do what they need to do to put themselves in a position to at least hold on to leads, or do some of the simple things that ultimately keep them in position to do well. I do not remember the name of the center that they have on their team that really stood out in their game last we saw them. I just saw his name right now in the depth chart, and it left as quickly as it came. But I understand that is somebody who had a very good game against us. We featured the conversation around him and what he was doing in the games leading up to that matchup we had. And it was just understood that he was going to be a problem, and it's a dang shame that name is yet to come. But understand that they have a backup center down there who does a lot of good fundamental things, and ultimately was a big part of what happened down there against us in overtime, keeping us out of the paint. This was a situation where we weren't wise to play Thomas Bryant but 7 minutes in that game against the Celtics, and because of it, we did not have that rim protection and that inside presence that ultimately would have offset what it is that I'm referring to. But understand that the Boston Celtics have a good, fundamentally sound center that they use in their third string behind Al Horford and those guys. And if you see him down there, understand that he's already given us trouble this season. As well, we must understand that you don't mention the Boston Celtics without mentioning their core, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Now, Jason Tatum is coming off a game where he was absolutely spectacular. I believe he had like 37 points, 14 rebounds. Unfortunately for him, it didn't lead to the victory, but it wasn't because he wasn't doing fantastic stuff down the stretch. He closed the game to the best of his ability, getting his team the lead, or rather tying the game up with a fantastic strike to the rim off of a crossover. He was just eating up everybody down there. He's in excellent shape. His game is refined. He's an MVP candidate, if not the leading candidate at the moment. He's starting an all-star game. This is somebody who we understand is at the top of his basketball game. And we passed on him to get Lonzo Ball. And we all supported it, and we're not mad, but we definitely understand we were all wrong. And I think most of us knew it that day. So this is what we're missing out on. That's Jason Tatum. We left him on the board, Lakers. We left him there. And understand that every time he plays against us, yes, he's thinking about Kobe Bryant, how much he appreciated Kobe and his relationship there. But understand, he's also remembers the fact that y'all passed on him, and he was a Laker fan. He let us know it. He let us know that he was a Laker fan, and we still passed on him. So, yeah, he takes a special. I'm sure it puts a special warm place in his heart to get back at us every time he sees us, just the same as it is to pay homage to our great legend Kobe Bryant when he sees us. So. I don't think there's going to be a situation where he's going to take any foot off of the gas whatsoever tonight. He's going to want to beat us just the same. He's already had a little success against us this year, but he also understands that his team went down by 14 after being up by 20. I don't think we're catching them off guard. I don't think they think we're a struggling Laker team. They know we just got back Anthony Davis. They know we just brought in Rui Hachimura. They know LeBron James has been playing like an MVP candidate since his birthday. They know of all these things. And they also understand that they're coming in at a defensive disadvantage because of who's missing. So you best believe Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are going to play like superstars tonight. And if we don't match their fire, we're going to get beaten. This is a situation where I said they've been losing, though. They've been coughing the ball up a lot. The back of their bench at this point, as I said, is a little thin. And we have big players right now that can give them fits. Just like they were terrorizing the league last year with a big lineup, we can terrorize them with the players that they have missing. A guy like Al Horford, he does not want to bang with young players like Thomas Bryant and Anthony Davis. He don't want to have no part of that. And that is exactly what his assignment is going to be tonight if Time Lord ain't out there. And if Time Lord is out there, he don't want to deal with them dudes half injured. And that's exactly what the assignment would be. So we're going to have to take it to these guys. Blake Griffin ain't got a chance against our front court. We need to feed Anthony Davis and feed him often. If he's going to be playing 25 minutes, he needs to be putting up 25 shots in them 25 minutes. Because at the end of the day, they don't have an answer for him. And Jason Tatum's going to have to be that answer. And that means Jason Tatum's going to be in foul trouble trying to be that answer. So we need to continue to feed Anthony Davis the ball and hope Jason Tatum has to do too much defensively. Turn them into players that have to do too much. And that will fluster them into turning the ball over as they're prone to do. Jaylen Brown. We know Jaylen Brown's an elite player. But what is his Achilles heel? Ball handling. He's going to turn the ball over off the strength of his dribbling not being all up to par like that. He needs to continue to work on that until he masters that. We're going to need to take advantage of him. Put players like Max Christie on him and defend him. Put players like Troy Brown on him and defend him. Don't be afraid to stick taller players on him. I know our natural inclination is to put Patrick Beverly on him, so I expect that as well. And I know Patrick will do a fantastic job as well. That's not where Patrick is deficient. He will do a good job in that area. So we need to continue to use our defensive players tonight. This is the night you want Patrick Beverly to look to defend the players in front of him and really not look too much to score like he did in the last game. We were happy he got 15 points, but that is a recipe for disaster if we think he's supposed to be seeking out opportunities to score the ball. We got scorers all over this team. Let's look for them to utilize those possessions. I don't want to see too many possessions where we're seeking out offensive plays for Patrick Beverly to finish. Also, some of the plays where we got Russell Westbrook laying the ball up at the rim, those could very easily be lobs to Thomas Bryant. Inside plays to Wenyen Gabriel. Better plays given to Rui Hachimura and LeBron James. We have other players that can score the ball. What shots are we seeking? This is no different than the question I asked Darvin Ham when I was asking him, who are you trusting earlier in the season? Now it's about what shots are we looking for. And we got to continue to look for good shots. It's not just that we look for good shots. It's that we want the right players shooting those good shots. And that's important. So that's one of those things I'm looking at. Anthony Davis in the second half. I know our minutes restriction situation is as is. I got on our case to no end at the end of that last game because I felt like we went over the minutes restriction when we didn't need to, and it left him vulnerable. We're going to have to find a balance between utilizing Anthony Davis properly and not overusing him while we're trying to get him back in shape. And for a game like this, it's very easy to do either. It's a very easy way to see this game going into overtime, just like the last matchup against this team. So we need to be very, very respectful of the fact that his health is always on the line. Always on the line, and our team is made up of into three sections. Him, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook. So if any of those guys go down, we're in really, really big trouble. So we got to respect that at all times. And just let's just see if we can utilize the rotation in ways that don't anger the fan base. Please, let's make sense of what we're doing. I've already pointed out who I think should move up and down the depth chart. I don't feel like necessarily getting into that any more or any less. I think we all know who's the best players on the team, who's not so productive, etc. Let's just utilize our roster a bit more properly, given the fact that we made the trade for Rui and can do so. There's no reason to shuffle our lineup in the way that we've been. Let's move it around and make it make sense. We know who the players that should be here are, and we know who the players that should be moving on are. Let's do it. No time for play. These games are important, Lakers. If we go on a good road trip here, let's say we overachieve and go 4 out of 5 on this road trip, at the end of it, we may find ourselves in a playoff situation. Not play in. No, we'll skip that and go straight into the playoff situation because that's how close these games are. But if we drop 4 or 5 of these games, it can go the other way as well. We can find ourselves in a hole that is much deeper to get out of than we're anticipating. This is the stretch. This is the stretch where you define whether or not you're racing against the clock or have an opportunity to manage yourself as you pace toward the playoffs. If you can win a flurry of games here, you'll have that. But if you lose these games, you may not. And that's exactly where the Lakers are at this point. This is not play around time. This is not let's load manage and figure out if we can pick and choose which games to lose time. We've already lost those games. We did that already. Now we got to buckle up, lace up the bootstraps, communicate, and utilize common sense as best you can while not having to practice time needed to find the continuity for these pieces coming back and Rui coming in, because we're just not going to have that on the road right now. But we got to make some sense. We can't be running small ball lineups out there. We can't have players playing out of position. We can't be utilizing JTA and all these other stuff ain't better for us. You got to try to go conventional because we haven't practiced and we do have new pieces. So for that reason, I get frustrated at the idea that we've been so used to small ball lineups that would otherwise be the carry forth, which, you know what I'm saying? It's like, why would we have even gotten used to this? Why would this be what we've gotten used to with Dennis Schroeder and Patrick Beverley starting? That is an absolutely terrible thing to have gotten used to, Darvin Ham. But I'd imagine that's what we're going to have to do in order to stay some remnants of consistent in regards to what it is I'm referring to without practice. So it's a nightmare to a degree, considering what we need and the fact that what we need ain't used to being on the floor together. It's like, why not? You should have had Max Christie out there the whole time. It should have been Troy Brown, Max Christie, Wenyen Gabriel, all the players that can do two-way stuff for you should have been getting the most minutes with your bench the whole time. And now we would have continuity all up and down the roster with those guys, even though we're missing Lonnie and Austin still. And that's another thing. Lonnie and Austin were only supposed to be out for 2 weeks. We're going on, what, 4? What kind of hamstring injuries do they have? Or is this our team doing funny stuff with the roster so they can continue the ball, what do we call it, the politic ball, so we can continue to feature some of these players? As I honestly don't think these kids are hurt as bad as they're making it seem as they're hurt. I'm just going to be honest with you. You can't tell me you're going to evaluate somebody in 2 weeks. 2 games ago, you're telling me he's going to try out and run, and he ain't ready yet? Why did you have him try out and run 2 days ago before the game if he wasn't going to be ready 5 days later? Clearly, you was trying him too soon, if that's what you were doing. Am I wrong to think that, Los Angeles? See, some stuff you can't just throw at me. I'm gonna think about it. What the hell are y'all doing with Lonnie and Austin that has him out for 4 weeks when you said that this was only going to take 2? Are you misdiagnosing what it is that's wrong with them? And how is it that 2 players can go out with the same injury more than once in one season? Have I forgotten that Thomas Bryant and Dennis Schroeder had the same finger injury? What the hell are y'all doing? Maybe nothing. Maybe something. But I know we're still featuring Patrick Beverley, and as I look back on that Boston game, we only played Thomas Bryant 7 minutes in that game? Never mind. It just goes to show you that there's a lot to look at in regards to the NBA and how it's being managed right now, from team to team, and the referees and the roles and all of it. It comes together to look funny to me right now. And some stuff does not play into the team's favor at all. And I know we got another one of these superstar players that they want to give the MVP to being featured on the other end of us tonight in Jason Tatum. And I just wonder if we're going to see some weird lineups on the floor so he can look good like we did with Luka Doncic the last 2 times. Tired of it. Good thing is, I know we got some players like that on our side, and hopefully maybe they'll fix things so that we'll look good as well. Because LeBron James is over here, and he's playing great. So it would be great if he gets slapped in the head tonight. He'll get his calls, at least. That's all I'm saying. At any rate, that is what we're up against. Not only the rivalry, but the fact that this is rivalry week, which means it's all eyes on referees week. So I expect some really weak stuff from the referees, because that's just what they've been doing all season long. So that's what I'm going to be looking at tonight. With the high-profile nature of this matchup, the fact that it's on ABC at 5:30 on a Sunday afternoon, I just want to see if it's going to be officiated properly. I want to see if both teams are going to walk away feeling good about how that looks, because this is one of those games in Boston. Lakers, Celtics. It's one of those. So we got to be ready for that. Like I said, the Celtics have dropped 3 straight. They ain't going to want to drop 4. And they have Jaylen Brown now coming back on a stretch of 4 straight games after the injury that he's had that had him out for a couple of days. So he's getting in better shape, that kind of thing. Jason Tatum, like I said, is in rare form right now. Probably the best version of Jason Tatum ever playing today as we speak. So we just got to be ready for that. The one thing that I noticed is dynamic players really got to the Boston Celtics over the last several days. Big, long, wingy dudes have given them trouble. Jonathan Isaac, Banchero, Bam, Juju, Jericho Sims. They've all given these dudes a lot of trouble because of the fact that they have such lack of athleticism in their front court right now outside of Jason Tatum. So that's where you get them. your Winions, your Thomas Bryants, LeBron James, obviously Anthony Davis, Rui Hachimura. We need all those guys to be flying tonight. Jump above them, dunk on them. That's what we want because they're weak in the middle right now. If it depending on if Tom Lord's out there, gauge it by that. But at the end of the day, you get him off the floor with some foul trouble, and you still got that same dynamic. It's Al Horford and whoever can catch the ball above him, and that's exactly what we'll be able to throw out there if we do things correctly. So I'm looking for Anthony Davis to just pick them apart. We're back to understanding who the best player on the team is. We gotta be honest about that. LeBron James playing an amazing stretch, but we know where our bread is buttered. He's back now. Feed him a lot, and make sure that we get him back to that level that's playing 50 and 20 and all that. Even in limited minutes, his per minute basis should still keep him at a ridiculously high level with his statistics. So what I want to see is us do that very thing. Feed Anthony Davis with the duration of the 24 minutes we're giving him, and let him flex on this Boston Celtics team to get them drawing attention to him to make life easier on everybody else. And we have got to also find a way to learn how to live without Russell Westbrook. Now's the time to start preparing ourselves for what it is that he does not do. Because I'm telling you, he comes and goes. He comes and goes, and I don't like living with the idea that we can't live without him. We lean on him with that intent. We got to start having other people do what it is that he does. More team basketball, continuity from other players, more looking to make passes from other players, more looking to drive to the rim from other players. We have got to wean ourselves off of the dependency of Russell Westbrook because his chemistry issues are so that as long as we're dependent on him, we're not going to win. If he's going to contribute, cool. If he's not, other people got to do his job. And that's it. And some of those people may not be walking through the door in trade. So we're going to need more driving at the rim, more intent on putting pressure on the rim, more intent on playing and getting the assist that he's going to give you naturally, especially since he isn't going to give it to you naturally in the process of us figuring out whether or not we're going to trade him. He's not a part of the team right now, and he's acting like it. If he sees this, change my mind. But until then, I'm managing you. I'm not even thinking about whether or not none of that. We got to learn how to wean ourselves off of him, no different than any other dependency. And that's the truest thing I can say about the chemistry of this team. You got to be able to live without him. More Max Christie. Not for that reason, but just for in general. Get him out there. He can defend, rebound, all of the different things. His shot is falling. Use Max Christie. And that's where my head is. I just want to see us put players on the floor that can defend tonight. The Boston Celtics are going to turn the ball over. They got 5 guys that are waiting to give you the ball. You just got to take it from them. Transition is important. Offensive rebound is important. Just like I said about the Clippers. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown could take care of the rebounding for their entire team. Like I said, Jason Tatum had 14 rebounds in the last game. Jaylen Brown had 9. They could take care of the rebounding for their whole team if they really want to. And you throw in some Williams, you throw in the big hands of a guy like Malcolm Brogdon, they got people that can get their hands on the basketball. So you can't be slow to the basketball. That's what I'm here to tell you. You got to be fast to it. Like I said, this is the premier team in basketball who is hobbling right now. That doesn't mean they can't beat you. They can beat you. They know how to win. That's the thing. If you're going up against a team that has the best record in the league, that means they've done things correctly. Down the stretch of certain basketball games. They know how to keep it close. They know how to keep you out of it. And so we need to study what it is that they do. I'll tell you, we suck at closing games. We suck at winning games. So you study the teams that are good at that. Simply put. So that's what I want to see our team do. Continue to go at this team. This is a team that we had some great success in small portions at a time in the last game. We did. They got us by 20, and then we went up by 14. So what does that mean? That we can attack them. Anthony Davis had a big game in that game. LeBron James had a big game in that game. So we're going to need that duplicated tonight on their floor with some pride because it is the Celtics and we are the Lakers. So this is one of them situations, man. Obviously we know about LeBron James' history with the Celtics as well. This is his 99th appearance against this basketball team. And needless to say, he has his own history. He don't like them. They've had many battles in the finals. Some he's won. Playoffs. Some he's won. Some he hasn't. So he's coming in with a certain level of hate for them. I think it's one of the reasons why he chose us as a franchise because of his personal dislike for that team. So we need to make this one matter. We're going into their building, a place that he's very comfortable in, and we need to flex. That's what it is. Anthony Davis has a special relationship with the Boston Celtics, and from what I understand, His dad didn't want him to go there for a simple reason. They didn't do right by Isaiah Thomas. So that kind of thing is going to add to the atmosphere in the room. You know what I mean? It's going to add to it. So we need to just have our chip on our shoulder. We got a guy like Rui Hachimura, fresh from the Eastern Conference, so he's played in this building more than most of our guys as well. So we just need to go in there with a lot of confidence. We know who we are, and we know who they are. And just like rivalries and across all sports, it doesn't matter what the record is for individual teams. When they face off, they're even. I don't care if they got the worst players in the world and we got the best. It's even when it's the Celtics and the Lakers. So that's what it's about. It's about the history of the game and how close we are at this point to passing them up. We just tied them up with 17 championships. They got 17 and they got a chance to get 18. So we got to stand in their way. We have to stand in their way. It's our job. It's our birthright to beat them specifically. And so that's what I got to say, man. You know, the Boston Celtics have no love here. We appreciate Boston strong as a city and as a fan base. We understand. We stand in solidarity as a unity in regards to the NBA. But when it comes to our rivals, there's no love there, especially this rivalry. This is the premier rivalry in the sport. So we got to come represent on a Sunday afternoon, national television on the road. Everything's up against you. But one thing you do have in your favor is, believe it or not, to some wild capacity, you are healthier than the Boston Celtics today. Your bench is twice as strong, if you ask me, looking at the depth chart. So if Russell Westbrook decides to show up, if he sees it within his own best interest to contribute today, in a major way, because he didn't crash the boards at all in the last game, barely gave us any assists. But if he wants to show up, we can really do some good things against the Boston Celtics team. You know what I mean? I know everybody else is going to show up one way or another, but it's up to him. The engine inside of our situation that could come and go is whether or not he's going to give us that thing that keeps us going. Is he going to choose to? It's up to him. You know what I mean? And so that's where I'm at with this. I don't know that the Lakers can win games at this point without him being his best self, which is usually something that he gives us, for better or for worse. But as of late, it's just like, he don't, it's like he's not a part of this thing. So that's what I would challenge Darvin Ham to try to find something out of Russell Westbrook or sit him. If he's gonna come out like he did in the last game, don't even do it. Don't even do it. We got plenty of guards we can play. Big ones at that. We don't do that. But if he's going to give us the good stuff, he's going to play well, we need what he does. So that's where I'm at with that, man. And everything else, again, Anthony Davis is a big part of everything. We're not as dependent on anybody if Anthony Davis is himself. So I expect him to be his best self. His last game, he had 4 blocks, several steals. Just like I said, per minute, at the ridiculously high level he was before he got hurt. If we would have played him 48 minutes, we would have saw the 50s and 20s and all that other incredible stuff. So Anthony Davis is by far a top 3 basketball player in the game again, as of the last game, if you look at the per minute. And so we just got to feature him as such and get him in shape and give him what he needs, as in big players who can let him sit anytime he needs to sit. Do not force him to play through injury. It's not a mental thing for him. It's physical. So we got to respect the fragility of his body. It ain't mental. He'll play through any injury. It's never been about that. It's whether or not his body will allow him to heal from those injuries. And it ain't. So we need to be real about that and don't let it be an ego thing. So that's what I got to say, man. That is it. If LeBron James comes out and scores 50 tonight, I won't be surprised. I'm not going to predict he's doing that, but I won't be surprised if he does score over 50 points. It's just time. This is the building for that. This is the aura for that. We're in the beginning of a long road trip, one of his final Eastern Conference road trips against his biggest rival, against our biggest rival. This is a night I expect him to flex. And since he's been shooting so well, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to. Since Boston's best defenders on the floor, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to. The only thing that would keep him from doing that is facilitating to other people who need shots. But I wouldn't be surprised if he takes it upon himself to score a lot. What I would tell him, though, is the best way for you to score, particularly down the stretch, in my opinion, is catching the ball from other people. So make sure they're involved. Because if you're walking in the shots, we're not better for that. So that's what I think, man. Playing off ball can get him those same points. And we need to explore that more often. In fact, double often. That's what I think. So, yeah, keep an eye on Malcolm Brogdon, man. That's somebody we cannot poo-poo. He can very easily go for 30 and 15. He's an all-star level player that just kind of can do some things also. Derek White is playing well. He's in a high level
version of himself. He's hitting shots, playing defense. He's in a good groove. So Derek White, please understand Derek White tonight. It's right now for him. So that's what I'm seeing, man. Their point guards are rolling. Pritchard too. Pritchard, White, Brogdon, all of those guys are going to be playing for us instead of Smart, and I'm telling you, all of them are playing well at the same time. So those are the guys that are helping the two big dogs for the Celtics. And of course, Al Horford, in all ways, shapes, and forms, is a problem. Rebounding, facilitating, stretching the floor, interior play. He's pretty much a perfect player, if you ask me. I've never saw any hole in Al Horford's game. Only thing Al Horford can't do is dribble the ball like Kyrie Irving or something like that. Al Horford's one of the best players on the Celtics from a basketball IQ standpoint. So if you're going to deal with that team, you got to understand that he and Blake Griffin can facilitate all over the place without even a point guard on the floor. No lack of continuity with their front court, back end legend players. Horford and Blake Griffin, they're excellent passers. So these are things I know, man. They're a smart basketball team. You can't play around with this Boston Celtics team, even with the bench on the team, on the floor, because they are smart. Mazzulla has them boys playing well, and despite them being on a 3-game losing streak, this is the game they're waiting for. This is the game they're hoping they can win, because this is a lesser Laker team, but they got Anthony Davis to deal with. So I hope they're taking that into account. This is actually a championship-level Laker team when Anthony Davis comes back. See, most of us know that. This team without AD can barely make the playoffs. This team with AD can probably beat everybody. Not maybe, probably. The only thing that you don't lean on is the fact that he's not going to be there. You know he's not going to be there. But if you give us 16 games to play against the field, if Anthony Davis and LeBron James are healthy, they're probably going to win the championship. I know people don't want to hear that. I know people don't believe that. I don't even believe that, because they can't stay healthy. But if they happen to stay healthy, then it's about whether or not they can close basketball games. It ain't going to be about whether or not they can keep up with the field. The field has to keep up with them. But are they going to be smart enough? Is their coach going to be wise enough to put the right players around them so that they can get the fullness of themselves as a team? If he does those conventional things and keeps us with size on the floor, and we keep those players healthy, we're as good a team to win the championship as the Celtics or anybody else. It's just a bad bet is all. So that's what I got to say, man. Lakers are about as close to healthy as they're going to get, with the exception of Lonnie and Austin, who are out right now. So we need to lean on those taller players, because we got about 7 of them in rotation. Thomas Brown, Wenyen Gabriel, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Thomas Bryant, Troy Brown. These are the players we need to lean on tonight. Rui Hachimura. If we lean on those particular guys, Dennis Schroeder's been playing some fantastic defense. I don't want to phase him out. But these are the players we need to lean on. If we lean on these players, we have a chance to beat the Boston Celtics tonight. But if we go small ball like we're prone to do and leave ourselves rebounding disadvantages and all these different size disadvantages, the Celtics are going to take care of us by 10 or more. So that's what I say, man. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching.